nonviolence is certainly an area that should play a role in everybody's life. People ask me, they come and they want to establish a Department of Peace, and I say no. Every entity we have should be a Department of Peace, regardless, whether it's the Ag Department or the State Department or whatever it is. They should be playing that role wherever they're at to foster that for the role of government, the role of individuals, the role of education, the role of interconnectivity, trying to create opportunities for particularly young people who are going to be the leaders of tomorrow, to both our young people being over there, theirs over here, trying to understand each other better. We're really blessed in this country. We simply don't understand the level of animosity that you can have amongst different tribes in Africa, different groups in the Middle East, the intense dislike that they have for each other. And again, we're blessed. Sometimes we disagree, but at the end of the day, certainly we don't have those kind of things going on, which is great.
I really don't see a need or a purpose of violence in anything that we do. And not just physical violence, I'm talking about the bigger sort of V word with emotional abuse, spiritual attacks, in addition to physical violence. See, I think fundamentally the very nature of violence, sort of capital V violence, is just anathema. There is no role, there is no time. I think war is a good example, is always the last resort, if it is a resort at all, right? And so I think if I had to prioritize where violence is most important, unimportant, I think the very nature of human-on-human violence is just fundamental to it all, whether it be gender-based, sexual, occupational, caste. We teach best through example. And I think when our example is nonviolent, that is probably the best way we teach the very nature of nonviolent behavior at all levels, whether it be the social unit be a husband and wife, social unit be a larger family, a larger community, a state, a country, a nation, or a planet. I think it's all about the behavior that is set by those that are either respected or are viewed versus those that are following, watching, and imitating.
Yeah, I think if we want to accomplish objectives, and if we want to be successful accomplishing those objectives, we need to build more of a relational approach to dealing with others. And what that means is, I understand today I'm going to have to do business with you, whether it's a store where you're buying things you need in exchange for money, or whether it's people in your family, where you're deciding who's going to do chores, or whether it's just about any other ongoing relationship that you have in our society. And if you resort to violence in those situations, you're going to wind up really damaging the relationships.
I think you influence nonviolent behavior. Part of it is how you act. I'm a guy that feels like you can disagree without being disagreeable, and certainly that's not overt acts of violence, but it sets the tone. And we're developing to a very coarse society where sometimes we settle our problems in ways that we shouldn't. In regard to the worldwide non-violence or trying to reduce violence, I think you do that with education.
At the end of the day, moving all of us toward a nonviolent interaction is a lot wiser. Again, unless you're in a profession where you're dealing with stopping violent criminals, defeating terrorists, winning wars for your country, or other limited situations.
How would I define nonviolence?
We're not.
I don't believe nonviolence should be passive. So that's not part of the definition, it's part of the antonym that shouldn't be used. I think of it as a procedure or a behavior or a way of life that doesn't involve aggressive behavior at any level, whether it be spiritual, emotional, physical, economic. I mean, I think there is there are ways of violent behavior that are indeed economic, right? And so I think it's about aggression. Yeah, it's simply about aggression. It's not about assertion, because you can be assertive and nonviolent, but you can couch what you do in aggressive behavior, but ultimately that can lead indeed to a violent act.